I'm talking to José Manuel Toscano. He's the Director General and CEO of the International Telecommunications Satellite Organization. Welcome, Mr. Toscano. Now, first of all, the work that you do, when we think of space, it's an area that doesn't belong to anyone but belongs to everyone, a bit like the deep sea. So your organization's very important, isn't it? Because it's potentially an area of international anarchy that needs to be organized.
The organization started as an international organization with two functions. First one, the normal role of an international organization, but also as an operator. And we start offering satellite services. For instance, we did the transmission of the landing on the moon. So this was done by our organizations. Beginning of the end of the 1990s, there were several attempts to restructure the organization, and this was done and consummated beginning of the year 2000, whereby we separated the operational activities, and we used the same name, the same acronym for the company which is now providing satellite communication, which is Intelsat, and we kept the international organization. Our role today is to ensure that a private operator still has public service obligations.
This is a development conference, and there's a lot of talk about rolling out broadband internet, mobile telephony to remote areas of the world. Now, obviously, satellites play a very important role in that. What exactly can they do?
This conference is held at the moment, which is crucial in times. You know that we have Millennium Development Goals. We are halfway in implementation of that. We have a target date of 2015 for them to be implemented. And let's be frank, they are off track. In my view, for this situation to be surpassed and for us to be able to fulfill the goals of the MDGs, we have very rapidly to implement a broadband infrastructure. Broadband infrastructure, in my view, is crucial if you want to implement e-policies, if you want to implement the ICT policies of government. And then I come to satellite. We have satellites over there. Satellite is, by nature, they are global, they provide global services, and they are ready to implement and to be an element on the implementation of this global infrastructure. But let me be very frank. Many people say satellite is not the solution. I'm not saying that satellite is the only solution. What I'm saying is that satellite is one technology which can be used in combination with other technologies to provide and to allow for the implementation and deployment of this broadband infrastructure. And let's be frank, without that broadband infrastructure, we will not be able to implement the MDGs by 2015.
Now, how does it work with other technologies in terms of the marketplace, in terms of how much it costs? Is satellite a relatively expensive option compared to other options?
Well, it depends where we're talking about. There are some places where terrestrial technologies will be cheaper, no doubt about it. But there are places where, if you want to deploy the terrestrial infrastructure, it's much cheaper to use satellite technology.
So it's a balancing act.
It's a balance. I would not say, although I worked and I'm responsible for international organization satellites, I'm not saying that satellite is panacea and this is solution for everything. I'm saying is that satellite should be considered as a technology which can provide an answer, and in many cases, combined with other technologies, gives the solution. A specific example, you can have satellite transport the signal up to a village, and then we use a terrestrial technology like WiMAX to distribute the sign.
So it's very good for reaching those. It's a long arm that can reach over very long distances.
For instance.
But actually at a local level, the last mile, as they say, or the last kilometre, it's better to have some sort of copper wire or terrestrial.
I would say in many places perhaps that would be the best solution, but in other places, even in last mile, satellite could be the solution.
You've just mentioned the MDG goals, 2015. What do you think needs to be done in the area of satellites for us to reach those goals?
One thing that needs to be done, capacity building. I believe that the policy makers should be made aware of what satellite may give to them. And in this context, I would like, and I'm happy to announce that tomorrow I'm going to sign a partnership with the ITU, whereby ITSO is sponsoring specific actions, training actions on satellite communications for developing countries. Another area is satellite regulation. I believe that there are still many constraints in terms of taxation, in terms of licensing procedures, in terms of requirements for national presence, there are still many constraints which in fact may increase the price of the satellite capacity.
We've spoken about the balancing act that you need to perform when you're deciding whether to go for a terrestrial or a satellite option. How expensive is it for developing countries to use satellite technology? Because I imagine very few, I know India has a developed satellite program, space program, but for other countries that don't, they have to go to developed world satellite companies who offer this service. Surely it's too expensive for many of them.
If a country comes to us and say, we need satellite capacity to implement our policies, could you help us? What I can say is that I've been, I think that we have been successful in talking with Intelsat to create conditions for that capacity to be used for the purpose of that country. So let's remove a little bit the dogma of price. Let's remove a little bit the dogma of it's too expensive. Let's analyze case by case. Let's analyze the objectives of each country, and a solution will be found for that.
Okay, one final question. We're told that it's very crowded up there, that in fact that there's an orbiting rubbish dump of old satellites and satellites that are still working. What is the situation? We can't see. What is this? How messy is it up there, and what needs to be done about it?
Well, if I want to be diplomatic, I would say it's manageable. If I want to be honest, I think I would say it's a mess. I agree with you. Yes, you have a huge number of commercial satellites, and I would not consider the military satellites. It's very difficult to find a parking slot, what is called in technical terms orbital slots. It's very difficult. An orbital slot is a commodity which is very expensive today, and I believe that some measures have to be taken if we want to avoid situations as we had in the recent past, where you had collision between satellites and so on. In a word, I would agree with you. It's a little bit messy.